Hello guys, welcome to another exciting episode in our Coreldraw design series. In this video, I'll be showing you how to design this flyer using the Coreldraw software with steps which are written down in bits so you'll be able to understand as I have done in previous videos. Before I get started, if you have not subscribed to my channel, please kindly click the subscribe button and don't forget to turn on the post notifications so you won't miss any of the videos I'll be dropping shortly. Without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so first things first, I'll head over. I have my Coreldraw open already. You can go ahead and do the same with yours. I click on File, I click on New, and I'll just give it a name here, Church Flyer, like I've always done in the past. And I would head over to where I have here, and I'll make sure it's 5 by 5. Make sure it is set to inches, and make sure it's on RGB. And resolution stays at 300. Now click OK. Good. So when you open it, you are greeted with this empty canvas. So the first thing we'll always do is double click on this rectangle tool. If you are a Coreldraw user and you're using 2021, it will not work. So you just do that by default. You click on the rectangle here and just draw out a box. Since the natural dimension of this we use is a 5 by 5, you just come up here where you have this on the property bar and just type 5 and 5. You click enter. When you've done this, just press P on the keyboard to center it to the page like I've just done now. If you're using the Coreldraw 2020, 2019, 2018, just come over here and double click on the rectangle, and yes, that's how you get it done. Now the first thing I will start with is of course my text. Come over to my text tool here, and I'll start by typing caps locks on Thanksgiving. I'm using 2 lines for this. I'll just change the font I used. I used intro inline. So lest I forget, the fonts I'm using for the design and the images are included in the resource file attached to this video, so just do well to check and follow along. So what I would do is I would come to my shape tool and close in the gaps of the thanks and the giving. We don't want them far apart from themselves, so I just want it like this. And since I want to make further adjustment, let me zoom in so you see clearly. I'll go over to objects and I'll click on break artistic text apart. So I'll click it now. You see giving is standing on its own and thanks is on its own. So I'll just make this giving a little bit bigger like this. Okay, good. Let me zoom out so we get a feel of what we are doing properly. So I can just make it bigger by selecting the 2 of them. You can either select this, hold down the shift key and select this, or you just, with your selection tool selected, just draw a marquee around the 2 of them like this and select from the edges like this. Always select from the edges. Good, right? So I'll just reduce this a little bit and we're good like that. So the next thing I'll be typing now is the service. So I'll go ahead and type service. I'll change the fonts. I use the Raymond for this. Good, right? But we have a problem now. The outline width of this text and this, they are not quite matching, because when you zoom out you can hardly see this one. So what I will do is I'll be adding an outline to this service to make it more, to add more weight to it. So what I'll do is I'll come here to where I have this pen tool that says none. It's saying none because obviously now I don't have any outline to it. So I'll double click on it like this and it brings up the outline pen dialog box. So what I'll just do is don't worry about everything you're seeing here, it doesn't really count for now. What I'll just do is I'll go over to the width section because we need to increase the width white. So what we'll just do is I'll click on the width and I'll select let's say 5. Good. Selecting 5, I'll leave the rest as it is default like this and click OK. Good, right? So the next thing we need to do is, with this service selected now, we want to go ahead to modify, because when we start decreasing the size like this, it will begin to take on another form, and we don't want it. We want the fact that when we are increasing and decreasing the size, it doesn't lose its form. So what we'll do is, selecting the service, go to objects and click on convert outline to object. Good, that is what we've done. Now what this has done is it has separated the outline we applied from the text itself. As you can see, this is the text and this is the outline we applied. Good. So next thing we'll do is select the both of them. You can draw a marquee to around two of them like this. As you can see, selecting two of them, come over to where you have weld and weld it. So as you can see now, it is now one text. They are not apart any longer. The downside to this is you cannot, if you've typed service or services, you cannot revert back to service. So you must make sure you're typing the right thing before you go ahead to do this. Okay, great. So I'll just zoom out so we get a feel of what we're doing. Always form the habit of zooming in and zooming out so you see what you're doing and you're precise with your designs. So having done this, the next thing I'll be doing is I'll be creating my background for this design. Good, right? Okay, so I'll be making my background. I'll just click here where I have this color. As you can see here now, because we don't have any color here, you can see it's just the rectangle. So what I will just do is I'll double click on it where it says none, and it will bring out this dialog box. So what you will do is you click on this second one that says edit fill, not this first one. If you click on this first one, that means you are telling Coreldraw to remove all the fill inside. So you are clicking on this. As you can see in real time, it has applied the color by default, which is black. But we don't want black. We don't want black. So what we'll do is we'll be imputing this color code. This is the color I use for the background. So you just come over here and you can clean everything and leave the hashtag, or you can as well remove everything and impute this code B21703 and click OK. Okay guys, this is the color of the background we'll be using. So having done this, I'll remove the outline. As you can see closely, if I zoom closely, you can see the outline. We don't want that either. So what we'll just do is we'll come over here and we'll remove the outline by right clicking on this. Having done this, I'll select all of this like this and come over to where I have my color here and make it white. Yes, good. So having done this, let's move over to the next part. So what I want to do is I'll come over to my ellipse tool here and hold down the control, of course, to make sure you are not drawing an egg instead of a circle. Good, right? So I will move it in place just so it covers this Thanksgiving service. I will increase the size just so the Thanksgiving service is bigger than the circle itself. If I have to increase the size like this, I would increase the size like this just to make sure it's bigger than this circle. So for this circle, I'll also be changing the color. I'll click on where I have none here, double click on it and select this second one to activate the color, changing from non-fill to fill. But for this, I'll be using a different color code. I'll be using B10800. So that's what I'll be using. So I'll just click OK like this, and good. This is the color we'll be using here. So I can go on to make sure I get a different blend, because what I have here now currently is I have a different color here and it's slightly looking like what I have here. So I'll just come over to where I have my black here and click on control and click on it twice. Hold down the control key and click on it twice. 1, 2, like this. Good. So having done this, we're good to go. So now we have a problem. This ellipse tool is in front of our text. So what we'll just do is control page down to send it to the back like this. But before we do that, I'd want to place something inside the background. So we want to place a background inside. So I'll go over to where I have my resource file and bring in my first image I'll be using for this design, which is this one here. So I'll just drag and I'll drop inside like this. Good. So I'll just zoom out and make it smaller while I put it in place. Right, guys? So before I put it in place, I would like to change the blend mode. So I'll come over here, apply transparency, and click on the blend mode overlay like this, and click on this one, this first one. Clicking on this first. Okay, so having done this, I'll go over to my transparency tool. I'll click on the transparency like this. Let me zoom in, click on transparency, and click on this first one, and click on change the blend mode from normal to overlay, just like this. Good. So having done this, we can now place this inside of this ellipse or this circle, as the case may be. So what you do is selecting this, right click on it, and select power clip inside from the options. When this arrow comes out, put it inside here like this. Okay, I just might want to change the blend mode from overlay to screen. Set it to screen. Okay, fine. So I changed the blend mode from overlay to screen. So I'll just reduce it a bit like this, and I'll move it in place so it's not too big, so it doesn't start pixelating. So I'll move it in place like this, and when I'm done, I'll click finish. Good. So this is what we want in the design. So having done this, we're settled with this. So I'll just take it to the back like this by holding down Control, page down, sending it to the back like this. Okay. So now I can change this one color to what I have used here before. So I'm setting it like this. Good. So next thing I'll do is I'll go back to my resource file to bring in the next image I'll be using, which is this background. So I'll drag and I'll drop inside like this. And of course I'll make it bigger so it fills the whole canvas like this, right? And having done this, I would go over to effects. Under effects, click on blur, and click on Gaussian blur. I'll be setting my value to, instead of 21, you can move this aside, I'll be setting it to 15. Good, right? So I click OK. So this is the amount of blur I want. I don't want the effect to be too much in it. This, I would go over to my transparency, click on it, and set the blend mode to overlay like this. Cool, right? So having done this, I'll move this out of place because we want to power clip it inside here like we've done before. Right click on it and select power clip. When this arrow pops up, click on this shape. Good. So having done this, you should have this. So you can as well move this in place and adjust properly to get something like this. Let's move over to the next thing we're going to be doing. So what we'll just do, I need to add some other text. So I'll come over to my text tool and type presents. I forgot that. That was like part of the first thing we needed to do. So I'll change the color to white like this, and I will change the font to Akira Expanded. This is what I used, right? Good. So we'll make it smaller. You can either change the size of the font from the property bar here. You can click on any point you want, 6 points, 7 points, it's measured in points. Or you can as well make things easy for yourself by dragging down like this to this point. Good. So having done that, I'll select my shape tool and I will create space like this so it's not all tacked up together. And I would reduce this to this point like this, and I'll move it in place. I need to zoom closer to see why you need to zoom closer to actually see what you're doing correctly. So I would reduce the size, still too big, and I think somewhere around this point is good. I'll zoom out once again. Now the next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be working with this that we've created already. So what we'll do is selecting this, Ctrl C and Ctrl V automatically brings it to the top of the page, right? So what we'll do is what we just did is just copy and we pasted it, right? So we'll move this to this side here, and we'll just make it smaller. Hold down your shift key and make it smaller like this. I would increase this one this one here, I would increase it a bit, just a notch like this, and I will move this somewhere here and make it smaller. I don't want it to be this big. We just need to make it smaller. I'll probably move this up a bit, so the Thanksgiving and everything, the service would come from somewhere, because I don't want it to be too big. Now I'll move this up here like this. So having created this one here, come over to where you have black here, hold down your control key and double click on the black, just so we have contrast and we have variation in what we actually have here. So the next thing we're going to do now is go over to our ellipse tool, select it and draw a small circle like this. You don't have to worry about putting it in the right place. When you've done that, select this one here. With this one selected, hold down your shift key and press C and E. Good, right? So having done this, you've placed it at the middle of this ellipse tool. So we can now select, now this one doesn't have a color, so we'll come over to our color eyedropper tool and select this color you have here, this one here. Select it and apply it to this. So having done this, come over to where you have black here, hold down the control key and make it a little bit darker. Okay, at this point, you want to increase it a bit like this, and we're done. Having done all of this, come over to where you have this and right click on this to remove the outline. Good. So the next thing we'll do is we'll be using this to add the dates and the time. So the dates, 8 a.m. Next line, with your enter key, 11th of December, right? So I'll change the font once again to the one I used for the present, which is this. I haven't done this. I'll come over to object because I need to edit two of them separately. I'll come over to object and I will break them apart like this. Good. Move this closer. I don't want too much space, and reduce the size of this. Okay. So I'll make it white. I haven't done this. I would also reduce the size of this using my shape tool. I will bring it inside like this. Good, right? And also reduce the size like this. Cool, right? I'll reduce it even further more like this. Okay, and I just use my arrow key to bring this downwards, and I'll change the color of this to white. So we can have both of them like this, and just position it well, just so it's in the middle of this. Okay, good, right? So having done all of this, I would also zoom out like this, and we're done with that. Right. So the next thing I'll be doing now is I would have another rectangle here, because I want the balance between this and this shape itself. Good. So we'll go back to our rectangle here, draw like this across this region here. Make sure it's not sticking out of the page like this. And what I'll do next is I will change the fill color. So I'll just go over to where I have this none here, double click on it and select this one, and I'll be changing my fill color to this is the code I use, 650000, and I'll just click OK. Good. And before I make any further changes to this rectangle, I would right click here to remove my outline like this. And having done that, I'll come over to my transparency tool here, select it and hold down the shift key. Make sure I'm selecting from the middle or somewhere close to the middle, not the base here like this, somewhere at this point. And I'll drag and make sure it ends at the middle of this page like this. So we're going from white to black. Remember guys, white reveals and black conceals. So I can now stretch this down like this, and having done this, I will just manually increase the size of the rectangle to this point, so I have a perfect blend of what I have here already. So having done this, I want to proceed to bring in other elements for this design. I'll go over to where I have my source file and click on this drum, and this is what we'll be working on. So I'll just drag and drop here like this. Good, right? So having done this, I would want to reduce the size, hold down your shift key, and what I would also want to do is I would also be putting it in strategic places around this design. I will start with this point, but before I do that, I would want to apply a motion blur to it. I want to create an effect of, I want to create that effect as if the drums are in motion, right? Good. So what I'll do is I'll go to effects, I'll go to blur, and I'll go to motion blur. Right here in motion blur, I'll be doing just two things. I'll be changing the distance, which I'll be setting to 37, and the direction. Most times you can have a direction at 10 or 5. Just make sure you leave it at 0, right? So the distance set to 37 and the direction set to 0. Make sure this is checkmarked, and make sure you turn on preview to see what you're actually doing, and click OK when you're done. Good, right? So having done this, the next thing I'll be doing is I'll be making it bigger, and I'll be placing it inside of this shape. So what I'll do is I'll Ctrl X. Since I have things inside, I don't have to start right clicking to power clip it inside of this shape. What I'll do then is just Ctrl X to cut, and I'll double click on this background, this canvas that has all of these things, and I'll just press Ctrl V to paste them inside like this. Okay, good, right? Nice. So I'll just move them in place. I would have one here. I would also like to have one here, but I'll just duplicate, Ctrl C, Ctrl V. I drag up here like this. I'll click on it again to bring out the rotation command. So I'll just rotate, and I'll rotate to this point like this, and I would put I think somewhere here I want to activate the rotate again. I'll click to rotate like this, right? And the last one, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, I'll bring it somewhere here, and I'll just change the rotation to this point, and I think I'll move this, I'll make this a bit bigger, a little bit bigger again, and I'll just, I think I want to have it here like this. Okay, good. I'll also make this bigger. Let me zoom closer, you see what I'm doing well. I'll also make this bigger, right? And when I'm done with all of this, I'll just click finish, and let's see how it came out. Okay, good. Exactly at the positions where we want them to be. Now, having done this, let's go on to add other elements before we do our lighting in the ending. So okay, so the next thing I'll be doing is I would bring in the next element I used for the design, which is this torn paper. I have two variations here, so you can use any one you want to use. I'll drag this. It's an SVG file. SVG files are files that you can actually download online and bring into Coreldraw to edit it. Now when I'm in edit, when I drag this and place inside here, let me just put it here like this. This is an SVG file, but this is not what I'll be using. I'll be using the other one instead. Now, as it is now, you can actually change the color of this file because it's a vector file, right? You can change it by adding colors. You can even change the shape if you don't want it to be in that way, and you can go ahead and make changes to it. That's why it's an SVG file. But I won't be making use of that. I'll be making use of the other one instead, which is this one. So I'll just drag and I will drop inside Coreldraw like this. Good, right? So this is what I'll be using for this particular design. Now zoom closer to see what I'm doing clearly. Let me move it up so you see the distance between this and the base I have here. So in order to avoid any complication, I'll be power clipping it inside of this rectangle that I brought in earlier on. So how do I do that? Right click on it, then click on power clip inside, right? Then I'll click on this rectangle. Make sure you are not clicking on this rectangle. Make sure you are clicking on this rectangle. So having done this, I'll double click on this to further edit it. As you can see, it's inside, but it's not seated inside perfectly. So what I'll just want to do is I'll just move it in place here and put it somewhere along this region here. Now I want you to pay attention to this part now. Remember, we want it to have the effect of a torn paper, right? So if you leave it like this, you can decide to leave it like this. It actually works that way. But I'll go a step further to make sure it is more realistic. So how do I do that? I'll make sure I make this, I'll change the color to this 20% black here. This is what I'm using. Then I'll duplicate this, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and make this white. Good, right? So I'll hold down the shift, and with my arrow key, I'll just bring this down a bit. Or you can manually zoom close and drag down like this. Okay, so what this does is that it actually creates the depth or a shadow that makes it seem like it's a torn paper instead of just leaving it the way it is before. So having done this, I would click on it and click finish. Right, good. So we are good to go here now. This is nicely done. So the next thing I'll be doing is I'll be adding my details, which I already typed out. The first one, which is logo, I'll drag in and I'll place somewhere here. Make sure when you are placing these important details, you are not placing them close to the edges like this. It's somewhere inside like this. Okay guys, so you can make this bigger for it to be more visible like this, and I'll bring in the next one, which is this, the address, and I would bring it inside like this and place this also here just like this, and make it smaller. I actually typed all of this out so I won't go to the hassle of typing out, and so we'll have time to focus on the important aspect of this design. So make sure it's in the middle, just like this. As you can see now, if I bring out my ruler from this point here, as you can see now, it's in the middle. So I'll just move a bit like this, a little bit, and we're good with the way it is here now, right? Okay, so that's fine. So the next thing we'll be doing now is we'll be adding our lighting. So the next thing we're doing now is we'll be applying lights to this effect just to make it pop more. So what we'll do is okay, so before we apply light effects, what we'll do is I want to bring in the image of the general overseer of the church. So I'll just drag and drop here like this. Of course, I'll just bring him inside like this and reduce the size a little bit, somewhat big like this, and I think somewhere around here is fine and okay. So what I'll just do, I don't want it to be front of this, I'll just control page down to take it behind the shape you have, right guys? So I can as well want to shift the whole of this, that's the Thanksgiving and service up. So I'll just hold down shift, and so to create more space for the image itself, right? So I'll just shift up like this, and we're good to go here, right? Nice. So the next thing we'll be doing is we'll be adding light effect to areas that actually need light effect. Good. Light effect, what I'll do is I'll go over to my ellipse tool and I will select this, and I will change the color, double click on this and select the fill, and I will change the color code to FF3 100, and having done this, I'll click OK. Okay, so this is what we'll be using for light effects in this particular designs. Though we'll be using two variations, but we'll start with this one first. So I'll remove the outline, and as we've done before, click on this transparency tool, click on this one, fountain transparency, and click on this elliptical fountain transparency, just in 3 steps. I'll do that again. First things first, remove the outline. When you've applied the color, click on transparency 1, click on fountain transparency 2, and click on elliptical fountain transparency 3. Now we have a light effect, but it's not realistic yet. So go back to transparency and change the blend mode from normal to screen. Right? Good. So when you start applying it to these areas, you see that it forms the light effect we want to use. So first things first, I will bring this outside. I'll make a duplicate copy of this. Ctrl C and Ctrl V. With Coreldraw, when you duplicate the lights, it will increase the intensity, just like you've seen here. Good, right? So have duplicate copies of these lights that will be applying to strategic areas. So first things first, I don't need too many copies. I just need, I'll delete this, and we'll be applying the lights to these drums. So good. So I'll just cut this and double click on this rectangle tool where I have the drums. I'll paste it inside like this. So what I will now be doing is I'll have to watch out for the areas that are naturally bright, like this area here, this area here, and this area here. So I'll just shift to this point like this and apply the lighting here. I'll make this bigger and I'll move closely. I'll duplicate this, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and also add one here. Good. I'll put one here, and lastly I'll add another one here. Good, right? So I haven't done this, just click on finish. As you can see, guys, this is, if you've done that right, if you've done it well, this is what you would get as a final result of adding the light effects. Lastly, with this one I have here, I would make it smaller like this, just like this, and apply a lighting effect here, right? And I would just move it like this. I'll duplicate this one, Ctrl C and Ctrl V, and bring it down here, right? I'll bring it down here, and also rotate it like this and move it closer to where I have the overseer here, right? And make it bigger, just like this. I would also duplicate this, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and position another one here. Good, right? So with anything you are doing, just make sure you are not overdoing it, right? Good. Moderation is key here. So I haven't done all of this. The last thing I would want to apply, okay, the last thing I want to do is I'll just type the name of the pastor here. So I'll go ahead and type pastor. Okay, so I haven't done this. I'll just reduce the size a bit, and I'll just make sure it aligns with the logo I have up here. So I can just have space to shift this out a little bit, and where I have like this, and I'll position this well here like this. Okay guys, this brings me to the end of this design session. I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, click the thumbs up and like, share, and comment. It helps YouTube show other persons that may be interested in these videos that want to learn also. Thank you so much for the love. Thank you for everything so far. I'll see you in the next video.